Hello and welcome to the HP podcast. We're the three most beautiful boys you've ever seen in your entire life. Although, for a reason I'm going to get to here in a minute, you may not think that anymore. I'm Ben, and with me here today is Dave. Dave, how are you doing?
I'm good. It's good to see you.
Yes.
And I can say that now unironically because you can see me, I can see you, and everybody else can see us. It's a good day. It feels good.
For better or for worse. And Brandon, you're also here, the most glorious ginger. People can determine for themselves if that is true, if you are indeed the most glorious.
I was given that title.
It's true. I gave us the title of the three most beautiful boys you know, but your title was behest upon you.
I know. Therefore, I have no control. It's just something I was awarded. So
That's true.
Yeah, you might have to switch up the intro, but my title kind of stands. I'm sorry to say.
I don't know about that. Well, for those who are listening, and that would probably be the majority of you, because we have a substantially larger listening audience than we do video audience, at least yet. This is our first time ever doing the show live on YouTube. And for the most part, we want the experience to stay pretty much the same, but we'll probably still have some different interactions with people from chat, and we do plan on doing this for the foreseeable future. Some different interactions with people in chat and stuff like that. So if you want to join in on the fun, you can, of course, there'll be some links in the description. You can come and hang out with us live on YouTube. You can also go back and watch the VOD, of course, later. But for the people who like the audio version, this will remain exactly the same. As far as housekeeping type stuff, don't forget, you can go over and support us on Patreon over at patreon.com/handsomephantom. We appreciate that. There'll be maybe some change ups. You guys are laughing, and I don't know why. I don't know what's happening here.
Nothing. We're happy
just
to
enjoying
be
it. Yeah,
you're enjoying. Okay, you're having a good time. I thought maybe you were laughing. Dave has in the background one of my VODs up from my Twitch streams.
I'm trying to explain to Ben. He saw it when he came in, and I just said, I've only been in this house for about a month. And when we got here, when we moved into the house, that TV was here and that VOD was playing. So it's just the Ben is Handsome TV, haunted TV.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, make sure to support us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. We might have to reconfigure the tiers a little bit, but we do appreciate everybody who's over there supporting us, of course. And then also come and hang out in the Discord over at handsomephantom.com/Discord. Boys, I've talked for a minute here. I want to hear how you guys are doing. Just a little chatter here before we start. Brandon, I saw a little frisk dog running around. That dog's going to be gone soon.
Yeah, I know. Dustin's on his way back from Japan as we speak. I've had a good time with the pup. She's a little different than mine, but she's an absolute sweetheart. So I was telling you guys before the show, I'm riding pretty high. I played with my soon-to-be father-in-law. I played a couple games of Gran Turismo 7, and the last race I won pretty handedly, and I think I'm still riding that high. Now, mind you, these are older gentlemen, but we're not gonna think about that.
A bunch of elderly men.
We're not gonna think about
that. About
5-second lead in first place. That's all I'm gonna keep telling myself. So, feeling pretty good. Pretty good to be on cam. Pretty good to see you guys, and yeah, I'm feeling real good, Ben.
Dave, how are your GT7 exploits going?
I don't want to talk about it. I've still been playing it, but I don't want to talk about it on the show because of the stupid gamble I made on myself. But yeah, I'm still plugging away at the weekly challenges, the lap time challenges. I'm still very much enjoying the game. I have the space now for an actual driving rig, and I think that's the next step for me. Because I think playing on a controller is kind of limiting. So hopefully soon I'll have that up and running, and yeah, I can feel like I'll get the helmet and and the gloves and everything, and I won't talk to anybody the whole day. I'm playing just like the steak. It'll be awesome.
Nice. I wanted to give a little caveat here that I have a very loud road in front of my house, and so occasionally there will be some noise. And generally on the audio version, I can edit that out. But live here, baby, it's not. It's just not going to happen. So if you hear it, like right now, I got some. I don't know if you can hear that. Some doucher running around with some little, fart can on the back of his car. Sounds great, but anyway. Well, this is the first time we're live here and on video, so we appreciate everybody who came out for that and who's hanging out with us. We might get to some comments later on. We'll see how that goes, but for now, we're just going to kind of get into it like normal. And this is everything but a normal show because I was very sick, so we're recording a day late, and I'm still feeling a little queasy. But we're still here. We're still here for you. There is a lot of news, and some of it's like crazy news, industry first kind of news, and some of it's like your typical run of the mill video games have always been like this, studios closing news. But for the first little bit of news I have here, it's about the Xbox leaks that happened yesterday, day before, within the last 48 hours. And there's a lot of stuff here to talk about. And I kind of thought that, well, The Verge, TheVerge.com, they've already done a decent job at rounding all this stuff up for us. So most of the time I write the news for us, but for this one, why not go ahead and just use what they've already done for us? So let's start with the overall opinions here. Brandon and Dave, what do you think of maybe the largest news leak, the largest leak in Xbox history, let alone in video game history? It's one of the biggest too. Dave, we'll start with you.
It's one of you guys said it a few weeks ago that like as long and drawn out as this whole Activision, Xbox, Microsoft, Sony courtroom bullshit has been kind of drawn out, and like we've talked it to death, some really, really interesting stuff has come to light in terms of, things that us as consumers wouldn't have seen or known before. And I think what happened this week was kind of like the climax of that, because we saw some really interesting stuff that I don't think we would have known about for years. So yeah, it was definitely an interesting week to kind of be a fan of the industry and be interested in what's going on and what's going to happen. Yeah, crazy week, that's for sure.
Brandon, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Dave said it right. We rarely get a peek behind the curtain, so to speak, and this is kind of ripped the curtain down in more ways than one. But I like how Phil was trying to play it off. These were all old emails, and we'll share more when we know more. I'm like, bro, it happened. It's okay. It's probably not okay, but it's very interesting, completely unprecedented. This sort of thing happening, especially in the way it did. And I'm sure we'll get into that, but just some truly fascinating things that we were never supposed to be privy with as a consumer. We just got flooded with, including personal emails, which is really crazy. It's not even just like roadmaps or anything. It's like the CEO's emails, which we got a little bit of that in the like courtroom before. But this is on a whole nother level. Like these were not supposed to be made public for sure, not even in a court sense. So
well, let's get into that real quick. According to The Verge, it says apparently last night's major Xbox leak was Microsoft's fault. That's what the FTC says anyway, as reported by NBC News. The director of the FTC's Office of Public Affairs told NBC News that Microsoft was responsible for the error in uploading these documents to the courts. So yeah, it hurts to have your documents leaked. Does it hurt more or less to leak your own documents on accident?
More.
Yeah,
I would say probably more.
Yeah, because then you can't even blame like somebody was being malicious against us, and you can't even feel like a victim because you just victimized yourself. And honestly, it was probably like one of their attorneys in in another office that wasn't even related to the company necessarily uploaded all this stuff. But it is weird that, like you said, some of these emails that like don't even necessarily pertain to things got leaked too.
Yeah. I just wonder what that packet was. Like how did all of that information get contained? I wonder if it was multiple things. I don't know like the finite details about this, but yeah, it's just truly, truly bizarre.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's start with here we go. We've got a picture of Microsoft's new diskless Xbox Series X design with a lift to wake controller, which I don't know. I move my controller around all the time and I'm not using it. I don't know if I want that, but that's that's just me. Um, we got a quote here. Microsoft is planning to refresh its Xbox Series X console in 2024 with an all-new design and features. Codenamed Brooklyn, the unannounced console refresh has been accidentally revealed. The new Xbox Series X looks a lot more cylindrical than the existing console and will ship without a disk drive. There you go, Dave. That's all for you.
Finally, what everybody
finally one
wants.
for Dave.
Dude, hold up though.
Yeah.
Did they take to heart the whole mini fridge joke? They're like, we can't come out with something that looks
They made
like
a garbage
mini
can
fridge
instead.
again. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they pretty much embraced the mini fridge joke when they made a literal mini fridge, right?
Well, when someone's upset by a joke, sometimes you embrace it and then you act like you're okay with it, you know.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
We'll see, man. I like the tube-like design, but I didn't mind the mini fridge either. So.
Well, let me finish reading here. It says 2 terabytes of storage, up from 1 terabyte, a USB-C front port with power delivery, and an all-new, more immersive controller. The new controller, codenamed Sebile? I don't know. It's set to be announced early next year for $70 and will include an accelerometer, which should let you merely lift to wake the gamepad. Has a 2-tone color scheme and will support a direct connection to cloud, Bluetooth 5.0, and presumably updated Xbox Wireless 2 connection. They also list precision haptic feedback and all sorts of other stuff that we would expect in a controller. So it says inside the new design, they're also adding Wi-Fi 6E support, a Bluetooth 5.2 radio. I thought they'd already had 5.2, but I guess not. And they are existing the die to improve efficiency. Apparently, they're going to try for a $500 price point as well. Dave, you said you were waiting on a mid-gen refresh when you bought your Series S, or when you got your Series S, and this looks like it's going to be a mid-gen refresh, but I don't think they're doing anything that's really going to increase the power that you're dealing with here.
Yeah, and that's the one piece I was kind of hoping for. Just to kind of recap, I got a series. I was never like a mid-gen refresh kind of person. I thought it was silly to buy 2 consoles, but I always had a bit of FOMO now that this mid sort of generation refresh thing has become the norm. So I thought if I got like the like cheaper Series S, then I wouldn't feel as bad about upgrading mid-gen. And I've also been feeling a little bit of FOMO about not being able to buy discs. So I was really hoping that this mid-gen upgrade, I did not expect a discless console. So if this is true, it's kind of odd, and I feel kind of dumb for waiting for it. But I am really curious to see from like a power perspective, from a tech perspective, how it's going to sort of push the envelope somewhat, because I think the expectation is these mid-gen upgrades are going to be just that, an upgrade, not a couple of new features and bells and whistles, but something that makes our games run better and higher frames per second, that kind of stuff. And this is a leak, so we didn't get the full picture, but yeah, this is not what I was expecting. It's also a little interesting to see that this being an Xbox Series X is it's sort of the flagship console, and it's discless. I think this is the first time we've seen something like this, and it could be sort of an interesting indication of what is to come and what Microsoft expects the next, the short to midterm is going to be of sort of console gaming. Is discless going to be the standard? And we'll have an option for something with a disk drive, but it's not going to be the standard anymore. So really interesting stuff. I don't know if I'm a buyer right off the bat, but again, I think we need to see the full picture first before we can kind of really judge. But interesting looking console for sure. I wonder if they'll embrace the garbage can, and we can actually get an Xbox Series X garbage can like they did, as you said, with the fridge.
Right.
Dave, I just want to comment something you said there. You said they call it a mid-series upgrade, but the internal documents here show this being called Xbox Series X refresh. And traditionally, when they've done a console refresh, they've just basically put out the same thing with like a few more tweaks. And I'm wondering, are we going to get that? What was it? The Xbox Series X? No, that's what we have now.
One X?
The Xbox One X?
Yeah.
Like that was the upgrade, right? That like maybe this isn't that upgrade. This is just a refresh.
Absolutely. And as I said, I think we need to see the full picture, and this was certainly not Microsoft's intent, it coming out like this. And as Uncle Phil said, those are old emails, so things could have changed, and who knows? This could have just been a placeholder. We all remember the PS3 Boomerang controller. Things do change. So if it was out of date, then we could be looking at really old stuff. But again, the diskless thing is really interesting to me. One little tidbit that was kind of buried in this article was this desire to bring Design Lab to the actual console itself.
Yeah.
I think that is really cool. We all remember the Xbox 360 days with sort of the different faceplates you can get. A lot of them look silly, a lot of them look cheap, but I think the idea of being able to design your own like look and feel for a console that actually comes directly from the manufacturer, that could be really, really cool. So if that comes to fruition, I really want to see what that's like.
Agreed. Ed in chat says the PlayStation fanboys are going to go wild over an official Xbox trash can. I would say that is accurate, Ed. That is 100% accurate. Next up, I wanted to talk about Microsoft's documents leaking new Bethesda games, including an Oblivion remaster. And we got kind of an idea of a lot of different games that were potential. We got, let's just talk about it here. Unannounced games in the presentation include the Oblivion remaster, originally set for fiscal year 2022, which obviously we're past that now. Doom Year Zero and DLC. The Fallout 3 remaster for fiscal year 2024, which I guess is still potential. A sequel to Ghostwire Tokyo in 2024. Dishonored 3, which that would be appealing to me. Why don't you guys go ahead and spout off on those for a minute first, because I got a train coming through. I don't want to get interrupted,
Yeah, I mean, Oblivion would be awesome. We've continually heard rumors of maybe something like this happening. I guess I'm surprised to see both Oblivion and Fallout being on there. I don't know that I would have thought a couple weeks ago that both of those would have been possible. But I guess here we are. If these leaks are to be believed, then that's a pretty cool prospect. Yeah, and what else? Dishonored. I mean, that's really good, especially after Deathloop. Wanted to see them get back into kind of the groove. I know Deathloop kind of fell flat for a lot of people. It didn't for me. I liked it quite a bit, but I don't think it was their best. So I'm glad to see that they kind of aren't getting put on the back burner because of one middling game. So those are probably the ones that stand out to me the most. Dave?
Yeah, Fallout is kind of the big one for me. That'd be really cool to see. Sorry, did it say remaster or remake or non-committal?
Remaster.
Yeah, that would be fun. I really like to see that. But I think the one that's most intriguing to me is a Ghostwire sequel. Because this was a game that I think was fairly well received. I don't know how well it sold, but it was obviously enough to potentially consider a sequel. But as we'll kind of discuss maybe later in the show, I think new IP succeeding enough to get a sequel is something that's going to be rarer and rarer. So I think Ghostwire Tokyo getting a sequel is a good sign. And I'm curious to see where they go with that, because I think it's one of those games where, solid first kick at the can, but a lot of room for improvement. So I would really like to see where they go with that particular franchise.
I really enjoyed Ghostwire Tokyo. But Brandon, you fell off of it pretty quickly.
Yeah, honestly, I'm probably pretty excited about the second one as well. There was something that didn't quite grab me about the game. It checked all the boxes that I needed for a game, and a game I liked, even aesthetically. Usually games can hold me a lot better if I enjoy what I'm looking at on the screen at any given moment. But something about it just didn't stick. So I would love to see them give another go at something like this, because I do think they had a really good idea. Not sure why it didn't quite work for me, but I know Ben was a huge fan of it. I think you platinum did, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I was a really big fan of it until I went for the platinum, and then after like 40 extra hours of running around Tokyo, I was like, I think I'm done, man. But I did get the platinum. I was so far into it, I had to. But I think it's a spectacular little game. I have not played the extra content, but yeah. They've got a couple others listed here. The Indiana Jones game, which we've known about for a while, being scheduled for last year, which didn't happen. Project Platinum, whatever that is, a licensed IP game, whatever that is. So we don't really know the full extent of this, and obviously there's a lot of games that have been moved out of these windows that we already know about and stuff like that. But hey, at least we know that they're planning on like an Oblivion remaster, which we talked about a few weeks ago, and the Fallout 3 remaster, which is kind of incredible to me that they would do that, and whatever Doom Year Zero is, because that I'm in for that. Whatever I don't care what it is, I'm going to play it. It's Doom.
Yeah, I saw some people speculating that it would be some sort of prequel. I don't know that that would quite make sense. I think they're just extrapolating from the name. But yeah, some really interesting stuff. You guys bring up a good point, and so does Ed in chat, that, you know, because some of these windows were moved so drastically, it does make you wonder how old this is. I think we're probably somewhere in between as to what to believe from this and not, because I do think this is obviously legitimate. I mean, by all sources, it seems to be the real deal. We have the CEO commenting on it.
Right.
So I really wonder how much is stuck. You would think that most of the plans are at least in motion, if absolutely nothing else. So
Yeah, I would definitely say that most of this is legitimate. I mean, all of it probably. It all came from the same source, and,
yeah,
and like you said, Phil Spencer has confirmed it basically. So yeah, that's pretty much all that I have to talk about with the upcoming games, or at least the new games that we might have been leaked. And of course, some of these
Dude,
may have been canceled. Some
Red
of them
Dead
may have
2?
Red Dead 2. Did you say Red Dead 2?
Yeah, wasn't that in there?
Was it?
Am I just seeing that from Twitter? Was that not on the official document? A potential re-release for next gen? Did I miss that? Is it
I don't
not
have it
official?
in this specific document, but it
Okay.
may have been somewhere else.
I could be wrong, but I swear I saw some stuff floating around. I guess you could never believe everything you see
I've been
on
down
Twitter.
and out pretty hard for the last 36 hours, so I would trust anything you have seen over what I've seen for sure. So, okay, this one we don't have to spend a ton of time on it because I saw some people really taking slam dunks against Phil on this, but I mean, maybe they were rightly deserved. But according to The Verge, it says Microsoft's Phil Spencer says acquiring Nintendo would be a career moment.
Yes, he's not wrong.
He's not
I mean,
wrong.
he's not wrong, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer would really like to buy Nintendo someday, and in August 2020, now mind you, that's over 3 years ago now. Email to two top Microsoft marketing executives, Spencer wrote that quote, Nintendo is the prime asset for us in gaming, and that quote, getting Nintendo would be a career moment, and I honestly believe a good move for both companies. End quote. The emails were revealed as part of a tranche of leaked documents from the FTC versus Microsoft lawsuit. One executive asked Spencer and Chris Caposola in an email titled Random Thought about why Microsoft isn't finding acquisition targets like Nintendo a more attractive way to increase our consumer exposure and relevance. At the time, Microsoft was also in discussions to acquire TikTok. And,
My God.
yeah, that didn't end up happening, obviously, for
So-
better or for worse. Who knows?
I don't know what's more ridiculous, Microsoft acquiring TikTok or Microsoft acquiring Nintendo. Both are just like completely outlandish, in my opinion. And honestly, once again, I'll say it again. It would be a career-changing thing, but boys, I cannot imagine a world where that's even relatively possible. Now, mind you said it was a couple years ago, but that just sounds absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm off here, but I think it would benefit Microsoft quite a bit. I don't know how much it would benefit Nintendo.
That's
Am
what
I
I
wrong?
was saying. I don't think Nintendo needs Microsoft. Not with their
No.
first party IP that they own, not with the way they print money with, the Zelda franchise, anything Super Mario, the rights they own with kind of Pokemon. It's this is the one thing where, the one kind of personality in the gaming industry that I think could go toe to toe with Microsoft is Nintendo. Microsoft, if you want to keep kind of pushing this forward, go for Ubisoft or something. That would fit a lot better. But Nintendo is probably the one who would say thanks, but no thanks. So, plus it's so speculative. Like, this would be a career changer. Yeah, well, Half-Life 3 would be a great game, but is that ever going to happen? It's just, I don't know. It's a weird piece of news. It really is.
He also says in this, I've had numerous conversations with the LT of Nintendo about tighter collaboration, and we feel like if any U.S. company would have the chance with Nintendo, we're probably in the best position, where LT is presumably shorthand for leadership team. He added that the board of directors has seen the full write-up on Nintendo and Valve, and they are fully supportive on either if opportunity arises, as am I. Now, it's ridiculous enough to think they could buy Nintendo, to me. It's just as ridiculous that they could buy Valve.
Dude, they're shooting for the ceiling with these emails. I mean, I get it. we weren't supposed to see this, but I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ben.
I actually genuinely like Phil Spencer, and I genuinely like Xbox,
Yeah.
and I'm like, are you dense? Like,
Yeah.
why would you ever? And you know what? Whatever side of the acquisition wars you're on, whether you don't want any acquisition, you don't want any mergers, or you want them all, like, can anybody really say like, yeah, Microsoft should own Nintendo? That's a good move. That's a good move. I don't know. It just seems outlandish to me.
Yeah.
And granted,
it is.
I guess them buying Activision was kind of outlandish, but not in the them buying Activision is way more digestible to me than them buying Nintendo.
Seriously. Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah. Dave, any thoughts? You already gave your thoughts. I'm still a little loopy. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, Dave. Also, I don't know if you guys saw this. I keep having little bits that I keep seeing on Twitter. I saw something today that the install base from one of these documents might have said that 75% of people that own the next gen Xbox consoles are Series S owners.
Yeah.
75%. Isn't that an insane number?
See, I suspected that was the case, and we were talking about sort of that parity piece a couple of weeks ago about how Microsoft really wanted games to run just as well, that seamless experience between Series S and Series X, and yeah, it's got to be because there's a lot more Series S's out there than we think. So yeah, if that is the case, really not surprised to hear that.
I did see something else speculating that number has leveled out a little bit more just because you don't have the same kind of because that email is 2-3 years old,
right?
Or that document, but
sure,
think the supply has leveled out a little bit more than it was, but yeah, I'd still say it's probably higher skewed towards Series S.
And even so, like, I wonder how that's changed over time, like you said, but also if we're to believe, I mean, once again, obviously things have probably changed since then, but if we're seeing the refresh and not having a economic model, not having a budget model, is that their play, just to get rid of the budget model? I mean, if the numbers are to be believed, it seems like that model is doing significantly well. So I don't know, just something to think about. I guess they might be going for one SKU in the future, but maybe they've changed their mind. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like it would be a mistake to go for one SKU if it's the lower SKU, for sure, or the lower end SKU, because obviously at least the word we're hearing is
maybe if their launch strategy was just to kind of test the markets on digital, and if this is proven to them that people are down with digital and they don't need a disk drive, and if they're buying this thing to primarily run Game Pass, then they will forego that disk drive. Then we could charge that same sort of high level price and not have that drive in there. So
yeah,
could have been that too.
I think when the refresh comes out and everybody goes to ditch their Series X's with the disk drive is when I finally swoop in and do mine and get mine, so then I can play all my old 360 and original Xbox games. I think that's the play here. Thank you, Phil.
That's smart, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm a smart guy. Let's see. There's a few other things here. What other big things that you guys want to talk about with these Xbox leaks? Here's one, Brandon, that they pulled out that you really enjoy. Jess Weatherbed from The Verge pulled this out and said, "A lesson in not counting your tadpoles before they've hatched. When Microsoft was considering future release titles to bring to Game Pass last May, Larian's hit CRPG Baldur's Gate 3 barely made the list. The game was described as a second-run Stadia PC RPG in leaked emails from the FTC versus Microsoft case. The explosive overnight popularity of Baldur's Gate 3 must be pretty embarrassing in hindsight."
Yeah.
I just found that one interesting.
Yeah, that was really cool. And I guess, to be fair to Microsoft, I think there was a tweet from one of the developers as well that was like, honestly, we kind of sort of felt the same way about it as well. It kind of is a leap into the darkness, but I guess when you make an amazing product, it just kind of stands for itself. So yeah, they quickly remedied the mistake that they had made a couple years ago by Phil knocking on some doors and answering some calls. So I think they're right now, but it's just interesting to see, and it makes you wonder how many other games end up flying under the radar of such a huge company, where they got to kind of double back almost.
Now, I don't know who this was that said that said it was a Stadia or a second run Stadia PC RPG.
That's crazy, dude.
But,
So,
can you imagine?
yeah, dude, that second run Stadia. What is Stadia anymore? Like,
Stadia's
like I know this was a couple of years ago when we were actually talking about Stadia, but these are the people that made Divinity Original Sin, which was not. I mean,
Right.
it's a little bit of a niche genre by most accounts.
Yeah.
By like the grand scheme of things, but that is a little harsh wording. I guess it is an internal email, so we're supposed to be, like, yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Dave, is there anything else from this that you want to pull out? This list of leaks. There's obviously lots of interesting stuff here.
Nothing really. The only other thing I was thinking about was the specs we got on the controller. It kind of seems like they're playing catch up a little bit with the DualSense. Obviously, they played it really safe at the launch of the Series X and S with the controller, where it was if it ain't broke, don't fix. And I think that was a good bet, but I think with some of the haptic feedback stuff, it seems like they're just trying to catch up to the DualSense. The accelerometer thing, I agree with you on the concern about my Xbox controller moves around a lot. It's going to constantly wake up, but I do kind of like that idea of just being able to put it down and not have to manually turn it off. It sounds so lazy, but hey, we're gamers. So yeah, those were my only other thoughts from the leaks was about the controller itself.
Oh, you know what else? One more thing was that I saw today that Phil had said during the beginning of the life cycle of these next gen consoles that he had felt. Now, I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but what I'm saying is Phil was under the impression that he had a far superior software and hardware product than PlayStation. And I would say that out the gate, numbers wise, that does not line up. Now, this isn't a slam on Xbox, but what I'm saying is that it was an oddly confident email out the gate, and just something to note. I didn't know if you guys had any more thoughts on it, but numbers wise, towards the beginning of the cycle, that wouldn't be what I would assume if I was just looking at numbers.
Well, basically what it was, I think, if I'm thinking of the same one you're talking about, is when the PlayStation 5 was revealed, he basically sent an email that was like, look, I was really anxious about this and not really sure what they were going to be coming out with. And afterwards, I'm really thinking like, I'm feeling like we're in a good place. We've got a great product. We've got great software. I assume he was talking about the Game Pass and everything in there too. But then there are other emails where he's talking about like, look, we really screwed up by not having by bundling like Halo and Forza at the end of 2021. We really screwed up by not spacing that out more. Now we're going to have this huge gap, and hopefully Redfall will save us. It's like, oops, like that like hurts. That was a full year, I think, before the game came out. Was that email?
Yikes.
But yeah, there's some stuff in there where like you get to see that candid stuff that obviously, like you said, it's an internal email. They don't want you to ever see that, and you're really just getting to see like these people. Guess what? All these big executives that we worship. Or not we, but some people worship. They're just people like us.
Yeah.
They say stupid things. They get stuff wrong. They make bets in the wrong direction all the time. So yeah, I think that stuff is really fascinating.
Absolutely.
As people, do I feel for them? Like, do I want to have my emails to my coworkers leaked? Actually, I really don't give a shit. But
but you're not Phil Spencer, I guess.
I'm not Phil Spencer. If I were Phil Spencer, would I want my emails to be leaked? Probably not.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Honestly, though, what I got to say overall is that I continue to respect Phil Spencer. And even after this, I have a lot of respect for that guy. So
yeah, and he did address everything. Let me see if I can pull up the exact wording. It wasn't anything crazy, but he says, well, on Twitter, he said, we've seen the conversation around old emails and documents. It's hard to see our team's work shared in this way because so much has changed and there's so much to be excited about right now and in the future. We will share the real plans when we are ready. Of course, he says in a memo in full, internally, today, several documents submitted in the court, there were a lot, submitted in the court proceedings related to our proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard were unintentionally disclosed. I know this is disappointing, even if many of the documents are well over a year old and our plans have evolved. See, even in internal, he's doing the PR spin here.
Well, also, I love how the judge within the day was like, okay, this is not my fault.
Yeah.
It was pretty much like that same day, in the morning or whatever, I was seeing it on Twitter. And then by the afternoon, I'm like, this is the official statement from the judge saying, hey, you guys fucked up, not me.
Right.
So that was pretty funny.
It is funny because like this email that he sent internally, apparently, I wonder if everybody who got it was like, yeah, and then like meanwhile, Phil Spencer's like, is somebody going to leak this to the press so they can see how we talk internally for real, But he basically goes on to say
Right.
like it's disappointing, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I can feel for him and for the whole team. Obviously, they're a mega corporation that just wants to gobble up our souls, but also they are still people at the end of the day. So it sucks to see their like those big reveals get, um, leaked ahead of time.
Yeah.
I guess leaked is the right word.
Oh, and I don't want to loop back around to this, but I keep thinking of things.
Loop back around. This is a weird show anyway. Just do it.
Notable exclusions. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Notable exclusions from these leaks.
No.
One of the biggest Microsoft franchises.
Halo?
Where's Halo?
Did they say anything about Gears either?
Where's Halo?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just makes you think. That's all I'm saying. Someone else said it on Twitter, and I was like, wow, yeah. I haven't heard a single thing or saw a single piece of, a single screen grab that had something. And maybe I missed something. It's very possible because it seemed like some of the stuff was kind of buried in there. But yeah, it's just kind of interesting. And I guess not surprising. Maybe it's just full steam ahead for now. But yeah, I guess no game plan there. So.
Yeah, at least nothing they were revealing in internal emails, I guess. They're probably trying to just figure out what to do with Halo Infinite, right? And 343 in general. That'd be my guess. But...
Yeah.
Dave, any final thoughts? Brandon, any final thoughts? Or are we ready to move on?
I'm hoping there's going to be some more stuff leaked next week because this was fun. Fun reading all this stuff. And you're right. I mean, those are pretty big omissions, and somebody somewhere in the company is talking about those games and what their futures are. So, yeah, maybe we haven't heard everything yet. So stay tuned, folks.
Before we transition to the next thing, just a few things. We got a note in chat. The Red Dead 2 thing was that in the list of Microsoft guessing how much it would cost to get it on Game Pass and listed it for 9th gen. So there was a lot of speculation on how much could we offer these companies to get their games on Game Pass, et cetera, et cetera. Got a note here from Tom909 that says, Dave looks like a sensibly dressed Homelander. And another one that says, my God, Dave is a Chad. I'm not sure how you feel about that, Dave, but just so you know, that's what
I think you misspelled handsome.
The Homelander thing gets me because Homelander is like a scary person. They were shooting the boys in the city where I work, and I had heard that they were actually shooting at the college I worked at, and I was terrified about seeing him in the hallways because that man terrifies me. So hopefully I don't look as intimidating as he does. But
yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the next things, and pretty much everything from here on out is just like doom and gloom. So
literally
this stuff, that was the highlight. All right, that was the benefit of the show so far. This just broke a little bit ago. Video game developer Striking Distance Studios, a subsidiary of Krafton Inc., is undergoing changes in its management following the disappointing commercial performance of its debut game, The Callisto Protocol. CEO Glenn Schofield, along with the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Financial Officer, is leaving the company. Striking Distance Chief Development Officer will assume the role of CEO. The studio, founded by Schofield in 2019, had aimed to create a spiritual successor to the Dead Space series, but faced challenges with the release of the Callisto Protocol, which received mixed reviews and struggled to meet sales targets. Now, boys, I enjoyed Callisto Protocol. I don't think it was anything spectacular, but it was like a 9-hour game that was very linear and was fun. I had a good time with it, but that's clearly wasn't what the gaming community wanted, and also with Dead Space remake coming out so shortly after that, it was rough. But Dave, what is Striking Distance going to do without the man who founded them a year later?
I don't know. Of all the people that kind of see leave, this was kind of the figurehead of the studio. I do kind of think that AAA horror is kind of a risk as a first IP from a new studio, but considering it was Glenn Schofield who was heading up the studio, I think it just kind of made sense to go in that direction. I think obviously the proximity of this game and Dead Space remake didn't do it any favors. But but I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say what you say, Ben, where, you know, it doesn't seem as bad as it was received. So this could very much be one of those games where it has a bit of a renaissance and people are talking about it in a little while. But my issue with games like this is like, we're seeing this quite a bit, and I don't know if this was like, I don't know if it was Far Cry, but I don't care if there are like well-known actors and actresses in games, and for whatever reason they felt the need to have like Josh Duhamel was in this game, and that other girl from The Boys, Karen Fukuhara,
Yeah, I know who you mean, but I can't say her name.
Gwendolyn Christie, I think, was in the game, and it's like, but I got to think that a lot of financial resources went towards having those people in the game, and did they really add anything? No. So I don't know if that was really from my opinion, anyways, a great decision to kind of, you know, spend that money. I'd rather, you know, write a better script or make the controls a little bit better. I know that was a contentious point for people, but at least the studio isn't gone. You know, we could see, you know, a follow up to this game, or them take the stab at something else, or the most likely thing, Embracer's going to buy them, and you know, they'll work on something else.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's an interesting story, this one.
Brandon, you never did give Callisto Protocol a shot, and maybe that was for the right decision, but
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, it was a good decision not to try it, because I tried the Dead Space remake and I wasn't really a huge fan of that either. So I don't really think.
I think they're very different.
Yeah,
honestly.
But yeah, I mean, this definitely isn't a good sign, seeing someone at the top of the totem pole falling off, especially the founder of the company, kind of leaving so soon after the foundation is being set. I've seen some people talk about this game online and how beautiful visually it looks. I've seen screen grabs of this game up close. The skin looks amazing. Like the details are there. But along with the voice acting being a little strange, I think that they probably put some focus in places that they shouldn't have. And so, you know, when that happens, I mean, you kind of get a game that comes out that maybe doesn't sit right with a lot of people. So sad thing to see overall, but I'm glad to see that the studio isn't closing down.
Yes.
I think that a fate worse than closing down is being bought by Embracer, but because that's kind of the inevitable either way. But yeah, I don't know. Sad to see, but yeah, just more doom and gloom. Here we go, Ben.
It is. By the way, it is on my Steam account, and I think you Steam share with me. So
yeah.
Have at it if you want to spend 9 hours on something you don't care about.
Yeah, I don't even know that. I think I'd rather play Tetris or something.
I really did enjoy it, but I can understand it's not everybody's cup of tea. So more doom and gloom here. And Dave, by the way, that point you made about all the big actors in it, that was something I hadn't considered. Like, how did they spend this much money on this game? Obviously, you get people who say, "I want this much money," and you say, "Sure." That's gonna do it. That'll get you.
Well, dude, you get both sides of the coin. I'll talk about some voice acting later and what we've been playing.
Okay. All right. EA is reportedly discontinuing support for the game Wild Hearts just 7 months after its launch. A moderator on the game's official Discord and subreddit made this announcement, expressing that EA did not see it becoming the massive hit they anticipated. While servers are likely to remain online, players should not expect any further content, updates, or fixes. An official announcement is expected to be made. I think there might have been an official announcement, but I didn't see it before we started the show. And then, just to follow up on that really quickly, Ascendant Studios, the creators of Immortals of Avium, have reportedly laid off nearly half of its staff, with around 40 people losing their jobs. The layoffs were allegedly prompted by poor sales of Immortals of Avium, which struggled to perform well in the market. Guys, we have Wild Hearts, 7 months. You're like, man, that's really fast.
7 months.
Well, first we go with striking distance. People are leaving. The people who found the company are leaving. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a whole year ago that game came out. Like, okay, maybe I could see it, whatever. Then you move on to Wild Hearts, and you're like, oh, that's only 7 months, dang. And then you move on to Immortals of Avium, which came out like 36 minutes ago, and they're already laying off half their staff. Like, this is kind of breakneck speed here, Dave. I don't know how come these companies are moving so quickly to lay off people. Why not just sell to Embracer? You know?
Yeah.
Wild Hearts is wild. That game came out after my child was conceived, and it was killed before the child was born. But like a game like Wild Hearts, this breaks my heart, because like a game like Wild Hearts not receiving support, like it doesn't have a roadmap, there's no additional content, it might as well be as good as dead. Because like a game like this needs additional content.
Yeah.
And it's really weird because this subgenre of monster hunting doesn't really have a whole lot of competition outside of Monster Hunter. I played Dauntless shortly after it came out. That's a free-to-play game. It was pretty good. It's, I think, still got a player base. It's still being supported, but I don't know why this subgenre just doesn't really take off. And I was really surprised to hear this. So when you put this article in sort of our thing, I wanted to kind of see how bad it really was. So I went to our friend steamcharts.com. Wild Hearts average player base, again, this is just on Steam PC. Average player base dropped from 13,000 to 3,000 in a month, and it's now sitting at about 100 players average. That's its current average. To compare that, Monster Hunter World's 30-day current average is over 12,000, and Monster Hunter Rise is about 6,500 concurrent average. So I suspect in both cases of these games, so with Ascendant and Immortals of Avium and Wild Hearts, that EA put these games out knowing they were new IP, knowing they had pretty stark competition, and said, we're putting these games out. They have a very short leash. If they are not commercial successes right off the bat, then these studios are gone. And even with the case of Ascendant, they probably looked at a lot of these staff as project staff. They're contract staff. They're here to work on the game. If by chance this thing does really well, then we'll keep you around. But, you know, just considering how quickly these two things happened, these, I think, were games that EA say they kind of hoped were going to be successes, but in reality, they had really, really short leashes. So, yeah, Wild Hearts, I'm blown away by that. I thought that was going to do a lot better than it did.
Brandon, you didn't really get to experience. You're a big Monster Hunter fan.
Yeah.
But you didn't really experience the Wild Hearts craze, and now it looks like, well, you still can, but
well,
I
played.
Of the problem, really.
Yeah, no, I tried to play the beta. I kept getting,
okay.
I kept getting kicked out. I kept having network problems, and so by the time I got logged back in, my trial or whatever the beta was, actually, I think it ended. So really disheartening. I guess this just goes to show that don't ever get attached to a game too much, because any company at any time can seemingly stop supporting it, even if that's within a couple weeks. I mean, you got to assume that a game like Immortals, half the staff is gone. I'm not saying they're shutting down the servers or saying they're going to stop supporting it, but I would imagine a lot of resources are gone with half the staff not being there. So Wild Hearts does also kind of break my heart a little bit too, Dave. I wanted this game to be really good. I thought it had all the makings of a good game. I wish I did get to try it some more, and I guess I still can. But yeah, it just goes to show, don't fall in love with the game, because just as soon as they come around, they will go away. And when you get development kind of halted on a game, what's the next step, boys? Servers are going down. I mean, if we're willing to do it within 7 months, we're willing to just pull all of our effort on a game like Wild Hearts. How much longer and how low does the player base have to go for them to just cut the whole thing? So really sad. And, even if they work contract workers, you hate to see half of a studio's employees go. And I don't know, just imagine what that does to this development team. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't imagine just half of the staff gone for whatever reason is kind of crazy. It sucks, but this is the way things are now. So
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's the way we're moving for sure. Anything multiplayer for sure. Speaking of single player games, let's talk about that for a minute. Crystal Dynamics, known for developing Tomb Raider games, single-player games, mind you, have experienced layoffs following the ongoing staff reduction at parent company, you guessed it, Brandon and Dave, Embracer Group.
Hey.
While the full extent of the layoffs is unclear, several employees, including those in marketing and branding, confirmed the job cuts on social media. Crystal Dynamics previously stated that the staff reductions at Embracer wouldn't affect their collaboration with the initiative on the Perfect Dark reboot or the development of a new Tomb Raider title. However, it remains uncertain. Whatever this commitment remains unchanged. whether this commitment remains unchanged after the recent layoffs. Boys, I don't know what to say about this other than the fact that, oops, we
Yeah,
laid off some people that were working on a game that's supposed to be coming out soon. Sorry.
How could it not affect future development?
Well, this was the last group of layoffs. I'm pretty sure they said that about.
Even then,
Right.
I mean, you're laying off people from your company. I
Right.
mean, it's going to affect something. It's, even if it's the janitor, the shit's going to start piling up. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is just bad after bad after bad. And we've been used to shit rolling downhill with these big conglomerates now, but to see it from other things, I guess I'm not too surprised. We got EA in the mix, but I guess the writing's on the wall half the time with these companies. I mean, it's yeah, boys, it fucking sucks, but the gamers just need to rise up one day, and then it'll be all right.
Gamers rise up.
Speaking of gamers rising up, Electronic Arts is rising up and doubling down on the Battlefield franchise by shifting Need for Speed developer Criterion Games to work on Battlefield games within the EA Entertainment unit. Most of Criterion's team will collaborate with studios like DICE, Ripple Effect, and Ridgeline on the Battlefield series, while a core group will continue working on Need for Speed. Dave, you are the one in this group, I think, who is the most gung-ho about the last Battlefield game. I don't think you ended up playing it very much, and none of us did, for that matter. But
I played it a bit.
You played it a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good, Dave.
Anyway,
Sorry.
how do you feel about it? How do you feel about them pulling Need for Speed developers off to work on Battlefield?
I feel for Brandon because like he was kind of ho hum on Battlefield and he loves Need for Speed, so they're like killing his franchise he loves in favor of one he doesn't care about. But I'll try to look at the positive side of this. Is Battlefield 2042, for as rough as a launch as it was, if EA is putting more resources into supporting it and supporting what is presumably coming next, it probably means that it's done better or it's recovered from that rough launch. And we've heard a lot of that the game is improved. There's more content. There's a leaderboard now. Can you believe that?
Thank God.
Big things coming. So yeah, and this kind of seems like the case for a lot of Battlefield games. Like I feel like since Battlefield 3, they all launch and people like fucking hate them at the beginning. And then another one comes out and then everybody's in love with the one previous. So like by that logic, everybody should love Battlefield 5 right now. I know when Battlefield 5 was going, everybody was on 1, but I don't know. In any case, I am a little confused of why they're pulling from Criterion, because I think what Battlefield needs help with is things like quality control and testing and server health. The vehicle design is fine, EA. Maybe work on those other pieces first before you start improving the driving of tanks and Humvees and things like that. So it's a weird sort of reallocation of resources, but I guess if you're looking at the positive side, it means that Battlefield is still going strong and EA is going to continue to support it, unlike Wild Hearts. So suck it, hot Monster Hunter games.
It's interesting how much talk about EA there has been in the last 10 minutes already with us. We're talking here about Battlefield and just talked a little bit about Ascendant Studios, which I think didn't they fund that game? Didn't they fund Immortals of Avium? Or at least partially. Wild Hearts, of course. So there's a lot of stuff, but something that EA has done that is working. Wait, I'm totally wrong here. Yeah, Titanfall came out under EA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is 4 days ago. This article comes from. It says, out of the blue, 7-year-old FPS Titanfall 2 has fully working multiplayer again. Beloved robot friend simulator and first-person shooter Titanfall 2 has had a matchmaking problem for years. Even after its previous server issues were fixed, players would still be disconnected if they had to queue for any length of time. And this comes from PCGamer.com.
Yeah, I talked about this last week.
You did, yes, but apparently it has gone up like significantly higher, and there's lots new things happening with different tethers in Apex and people getting suspicious about that and all that kind of stuff. And
Dude,
I just wanted to say that somebody in chat shouted out that they've been playing a lot of the original Titanfall 1, and those servers have also been going as well.
yeah.
That's what reminded me of this.
Yeah, honestly, props. I'll touch base on that real quick, and then I'll go back to Battlefield. But
Yeah.
there's been a lot of speculation. I think somebody like data mined or something. I don't know the exact term, but there's like 3 unlisted videos right now on either Apex's or Titanfall's YouTube. There's been some suspicious namings of things in the latest Apex season, so really makes you wonder. I mean, is that NVIDIA leak way back when of Titanfall 3? Are we finally going to see it? I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't want to get too excited, but I would be incredibly excited about the prospect of another Titanfall game, especially after the tremendous success of Apex. But
Yeah.
to kind of loop back around on that, I got Criterion Games, every game they've ever made pulled up here, and
Oh, okay.
I gotta say, boys, mostly racing games, like
Yeah.
by and large. They worked a little bit on Battlefield 5 and they worked on 2042, but I find this to be an incredibly confusing decision to me, to take a studio that has since 1996 almost entirely worked on racing games or games that have some sort of driving mechanic as the core mechanic, to put them on this seems a little short-sighted.
Well,
Now
Brandon,
I know.
Brandon, you just don't know your history. You see, in the battle of in Vietnam, there was this time where everybody got together and they agreed that whoever won the race would win the war,
Oh, okay.
and
All
that's
right.
why
Yeah.
they're going to focus on
Yeah.
that in the Battlefield game. Obviously,
Right. Sure.
I don't know. how
Maybe
you
we're
know
getting
that.
a Battlefield Horizon Festival DLC.
Dude,
because
I would
that's what
take
sells.
it. I would take it, but I know they really, turned things around with 2042, and I did genuinely enjoy the time I had with that game when I was playing it on Game Pass. But
Yeah.
Dave kind of hit it on the head here. I mean, this is a confusing decision for me for Battlefield, and it's also a bad decision because I want Need for Speed to be better, and this is kind of making me think that I'm unsure where Need for Speed's going now. I mean,
Yeah.
just to be completely honest, because with the way Need for Speed has performed in the recent years, it kind of makes me think it might be going away for a little bit. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's possible to work on 2 games at a studio at a time, or for them to be a supporting studio for Battlefield, or Need for Speed, on the inverse of that. But
Mhm.
a little bit weird, especially coming off the back of that news that we heard earlier. So decisions are being made, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, boys, this is kind of a hodgepodge week of a lot of different weird news and everything, but yeah, I figure it's time to talk about what we've been playing. And for those who are hanging out in the chat room with us, we appreciate that. To let everybody know who's hanging around, we usually try to keep the show to about an hour if there's anybody new in here, but sometimes we go longer. We'll go shorter. Whatever we need at the moment. But today, what we need is to hear about what Brandon's been playing.
Yeah, dude. So, I talked last week about how I was having exceptionally bad luck with my performance issues on Baldur's Gate 3. I uninstalled and reinstalled, and I dropped my graphics down significantly in my frame rate. So I've made it into Act 3. Finally, I'm actually able to play the game without it crashing. So that's really good. And not going to say much about it other than I'm glad to be back.
Yeah.
Just really, really genuinely can't talk highly enough about this game. Eat your heart out, Xbox. That, and I did start back up on Armored Core. I put it down for about 3 weeks, probably like 2.5 weeks. And I was kind of getting frustrated back then, so I think that's kind of why I put it down. But when I got back in, I blew through like 3 or 4 levels almost instantly. So yeah, kind of felt good to get back in the saddle. Nothing new to say about that. Still definitely not my favorite type of From Software game, but am eager. I'm a little over halfway done with it, so I definitely want to see it through to the end. But also, I had a huge lapse in judgment.
Did you buy this?
No. So I wasn't quite that stupid. I didn't buy the Crew Motorfest, but I was sitting there and I was like, okay, I want to sit on my couch and play something, and I want something that's slightly more relaxing than Armored Core. And I didn't have Mortal Kombat 1 yet, which I'll talk about in a minute. And so I was like, okay, how much is Ubisoft Plus? Which, let me tell you guys, Ubisoft Plus is more expensive than Game Pass, which is just the dumbest thing that I've ever heard in my entire life. But apparently not dumb enough for me not to be persuaded to try a game that I talked about how much I didn't like it. Um, because I booted up the Crew Motorfest because, I don't know, I was seeing some stuff on Twitter and TikTok and whatever, people saying they were having quite a bit of fun. And I was like, who knows? Maybe they changed it. Maybe they improved some stuff from the beta. And I'm here to tell you that it's almost exactly like the beta, which I probably, if I thought about it for more than like it took me to pull out my debit card and type in the information, then I probably would have assumed that it would hit me the same way that the beta did. But I'm sad to say that I now have a month of Ubisoft Plus, and I've played like maybe less than 2 hours, and I just am more than turned off at this point. So
now, Brandon, look at this as an opportunity. What other games in the next month are on Ubisoft Plus that you might want to check out? You've got like
Assassin's
64 Assassin's Creed games.
Assassin's Creed Mirage. When does that come out?
October 5th.
I think I will still have it. So that's actually, there is a silver lining. I can try that game. That is the only thing, because I think I have it till what's today? Anyway, I think I have it. So we're gonna make something good of this yet, but definitely not my brightest moment. Last but not least, because we did delay the show by a single day, I did get to try out a couple hours of Mortal Kombat 1 last night.
That's really the reason we did it, by the way.
Yeah, 100%. I said, guys, fuck off. I'm playing Mortal Kombat. But yeah, I'm glad to report that it is exactly everything that it's said to be. Mortal Kombat 11 was one of my favorite entries in the series easily. I feel like they went leaps and bounds above what they had done before. And I haven't done too much. I've played a couple hours, but I did play a couple hours of the story specifically, aside from fucking around with fatalities and stuff, the usual. And I gotta say, I love the story of these games. It really is like watching a movie and then getting to play a little bit in between. And just so beautiful. So great to be back in the saddle here and playing these characters. They did change up some stuff. They kind of took a lot of things from a lot of their games, which I guess is what you hope for, and kind of kept the things that made sense. I do need a little bit more time to be able to talk more in depth about it, but so far, so good. And it looks and runs absolutely amazing on the PS5. I got to say, the attention to detail is phenomenal. At one point, I don't know if it's just the HDR or it's my TV, but this game is like breathtaking. The colors are insane in this game. And there was this one moment where there was like light. It sounds weird, but like light was shining through this dude's ear. I was like, holy fuck, this game is gorgeous. You know how like, it'll be like the red. You could see the light coming
like
through
your ears a little
skin.
bit thinner.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It was just like little things like that, and the colors just popping, man. It was so cool. Yeah, and I'm excited to play it some more. I will say, as an almost 30-year-old man, I don't know. It probably is me, but my brain is so much less malleable than I think it used to be because these button combos are kicking my ass. I love these games, but I think it's going to take a little bit for me to feel proficient again. It's been some time, but yeah, that's honestly it for me. David, looks like you've been playing some stuff.
Well, real quick, I just need to butt in and say I've only been playing one thing, and it's the thing I expected at least one of you guys to be playing, and neither of you are. So how dare you? Anyway,
Damn.
Yeah, Dave, you can go ahead if you want.
Sure. So I've been playing two things primarily. First is Monster Hunter Now. We're going to talk about a mobile game, sorry, but I'm a big Monster Hunter fan, and I was pretty excited that Monster Hunter was going to be getting the Pokemon Go treatment. I'm not saying that in a reductive way, but this game is from Niantic, so same developers as Pokemon Go. If you launch the game and open it up, if you squint, it kind of looks like you're playing Pokemon Go. But I think this is kind of more of a subgenre thing than it is. They're just trying to rip off the same experience as Pokemon Go. So, I mean, at first I just kind of thought, okay, is this going to really feel original? Is it going to feel different? And I'm happy to report after playing it for a little bit, it does feel quintessentially like a Monster Hunter experience. It's got all the great Monster Hunter stuff, and it's in a Pokemon Go like package where you actually have to move around, go on walks, drive around to places to really get the most out of the game. Not something that I'm going to really be into. I don't think I'm going to play it that much, but I do like the idea of me driving to the mall or to the store to work and like just popping open my phone and seeing like what monsters are in the area. The combat is done really, really well. Just like it's just like a Monster Hunter game where you actually have to target specific spots on a monster, and attacking is as simple as just tapping the screen. But you know, you want to get different parts so you can craft different weapons and different armor. So you know, you do have to be careful about what you actually are attacking. You also get the different skills on armor and equipment that allow you to, you know, do all the things you would do in the Monster Hunter game, like critical eye or focus, all those kind of things. I was also really impressed by like the dodging system in the game, because at first I thought it was as simple as just, okay, swipe the screen whenever you see the monsters attacking. But just like Monster Hunter, you kind of have to know the move sets of the monsters you're facing. So like if you're fighting like Puke who has like a tail whip move, like when you see that move coming, you can't do like a left right dodge. You have to dodge backward or jump or something like that. And I wasn't expecting that level of kind of depth from a mobile game like this. So yeah, if you're if you're into Pokemon Go and you really like Monster Hunter, then this is kind of a no-brainer. It's free, obviously. There are microtransactions in the game, but that's to be expected. I didn't find them intrusive or anything, not yet, anyways. But yeah, Monster Hunter now is it's right up my alley. I think as a Monster Hunter fan.
Dave, real quick, I downloaded this and then looked at it and thought about clicking on it, and immediately was like, nah, I can't. And then just closed my phone. It's still on there.
No.
But I was like, nah, I can't right now. I just can't
That's
be bothered. Yeah.
That's fair.
But you've maybe convinced me a little bit.
I mean,
I go
yeah,
even less places than you do, so
it's free, and
Yeah.
you don't have to go anywhere to play it. Like
Yeah.
wherever you spawn in, like there will be monsters to fight, there will be materials to collect. But like if you wanna, you know, do all the daily missions each day, you're gonna have to move around a little bit. So I think you can still get something out of it just by being stationary. And to be honest, most of my time playing it has been stationary. So
Yeah.
The only other thing I've been playing is I was shitting on PlayStation Plus the other week and how aggravated I was that there were certain games that I really wanted to play and I had to pay extra to play them, even though I had already paid for them. So I did what anybody would have done, similar to what Brandon did, and I subscribed to PlayStation Plus. I just got a month, mostly because I really wanted to play Call of Duty. I just got that itch. Have you played Call of Duty recently, Brandon? You should think about it. The new one's coming out soon. You might like it.
Don't even say that to me. Don't you even. You're not roping me into losing this challenge, too.
I played a little bit of Call of Duty, but mostly what I've been playing is Deep Rock Galactic Season 4, which is called Critical Corruption. It's a lot like Season 3 Plaguefall in that it's mostly revolves around like the infection kind of thing. Where you know the planets that you're mining are being infected by these meteors, so you have all the same events that you had in Season 3, but what they've added is there are actually like these infected bosses that you'll find in levels, so you'll actually have to use like the foaming spray and the vacuum to attack a boss and remove its like armor, so then you can actually unlock like its DPS phase.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a bit obnoxious because the amount of like plague or whatever they call it that kind of surrounds the area that you're trying to fight is constantly like making you not be able to move, and it just gets a little annoying. There's a couple new enemies that are kind of cool, because I think the one thing this game could use is new enemies. So yeah, I'm kind of ho-hum on the new season. What I'm really enjoying is the seasonal event that's going on right now, which is all about Oktoberfest. So there's a new beer, which is great. There's an assignment where you can get like a sausage like headpiece that has like these like German sausages, And there's another assignment where you can get like a full lederhosen set. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, and there's special steins you can find in levels where if you find them and deposit them, you get double performance points or XP. So yeah, always a good time in Deep Rock Galactic. Rock and Stone, fellas.
Absolutely.
If you're ever down to join me, I'm sure I'll be there for a little while. So yeah, that's really all I've been playing.
But you're on
this week.
PlayStation. See,
Yeah.
I can't play with you there.
That's
I could,
true.
but my progress is all. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
Yeah.
Sucks. Well, boys, this past week I've been basically incapacitated by sickness for 2 days. I've been my only coworker is in Japan, so I've been doing not all, but a lot of his work, which is kept me up at weird hours because my work's usually at night and his is in the morning. So I've been just
Who, by
Anyway,
the
I
way,
found some time.
has just been sending us pictures of dildos since he's been gone. He's finding
Dude,
these
they're
things
not,
everywhere.
They're not dildos,
They're not
dude.
dildos.
Yeah. Flashlights?
Yeah,
Uh,
flashlights. Yes,
yeah, they're like portable flashlights.
that's
yes.
all he sent our group message.
There is like
pictures of.
actually we talked about it on After Dark, but there is truly a heinous amount of those in Japan. Apparently, either that or the places he's going.
It
So
could be
I don't
both.
I don't
honestly.
know which one it is.
So anyway, the only thing I've played in the last week is Starfield, and I've really not had a ton of time to play, but the time I have played, I've very much enjoyed. Now, one of the things I've done is a few story missions, and I don't even know at this point what's a story mission and what's not because I'm not following it that way. I'm just like I want to do this now, and I go do it. And so I think there are some things that are like main storyline that I've done, but for the most part, I've just been whatever seems like the next thing I want to do. I've been trying it out. And I just played this mission that was a lot of fun. It was really cool. And I won't get into specifics, but basically like there were two different realities I was in. One was like a reality that could have been, and one was reality that was. And it wasn't pertaining to the main storyline. It was the specific place I was at. It was like there was some, gravitational distortion, whatever. But that was a lot of fun, and it was a unique mechanic that 30 plus hours into the game I hadn't seen before, hadn't seen happen. So that was I like that a lot. And then the other thing I've been doing a lot is you guys know how I'm a big fan of like city builders and sim type things. I just have been trying to figure out how the outposts work, how you can set up like an outpost and mine stuff, and how you can transport it back and forth to other planets. So I probably spent like 8 hours this week doing just that.
Damn.
And at the end of it all, I realized I did most of this wrong. So I ended up going and redoing part of it, and the other part of it, I was just like, well, that part's just going to stay there, and I'm going to delete it at some point, but it's not going to actually work. So that's been pretty much my week in gaming. There hasn't been a whole lot of excitement, but what there has been enjoyable, and I'm very disappointed. Not actually. I really don't care. Okay, mask off for a minute. I don't care at all what you guys play, but mask back on. I'm really disappointed you guys dropped Starfield. Less than 10 hours of playing it.
Brandon, how dare us?
Yeah.
I hear it gets really good once you get 70 hours in.
Yeah,
That's when it really
no, it
kicks
only takes
off.
60, dude. It only takes
Yeah.
60. Yeah. No, I had fun from the moment I started playing it, but I can imagine if you didn't, then of course why would you keep playing? That's such a dumb argument I see from people all the time. Like, well, you just got to play it through 10 hours. I'm like, nah, you don't.
I'm
don't
just
have
waiting
to.
for the Fallout 3 remaster. That's what I'm waiting for.
That's where you're going to go next. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll stick around for a little bit after we actually wrap up the show in case there's anybody in chat who wants to chat or talk, or we can just talk. But for the sake of the show, this is it. This is all that's going to be happening here. We appreciate you guys hanging out, whether you are listening in audio days after we have talked or you're here in the live stream right now. We appreciate you. Don't forget, you can go over to patreon.com/handsomephantom. And if you want to help support the show, you get the show technically ad-free early, a day early on audio versions for as little as $1 a month. And if you don't really care about ad-free early, but you still want to support the show, we still would appreciate your support at patreon.com/handsomephantom. And also, if you want to hang out in the Discord, go to handsomephantom.com/Discord. We appreciate it. We'll see you there. Thank you very much. Goodbye. All right. Well, that's it for the show. We can. I don't know if there's anybody here that wants to say hey or whatever. We
Ed,
appreciate
if
you guys
Ed is
being
still
here.
there, I just have to his reference to Battlefield Hardline 2. Oh my god, I love
yeah.
Battlefield Hardline. Did you guys play Hardline?
No.
No,
was
but I
so
watched a
good.
lot of it.
I skipped out altogether on that one.
The campaign was so good. The multiplayer was so, and like all the maps were really small, and they didn't go for like the big like bombastic Battlefield thing. It just kind of seemed like a little bit more focused, and I don't know. It was so good. So good.
Dude, Ben loved Ghost Runner, and
Have
I
either of you
played
Ghost Runner.
I played a couple hours, but Ben really enjoyed it.
Poot, I gave Ghost Runner a 9 out of 10 on Handsome Phantom video review. That's why you should play it. Ben the Goat looking fresh as always. Hey, thanks, Sensei J. Dot. Appreciate it. I will give that demo a shot, Poot. Or sorry, why you should play. I don't know if you want me to say who you are, but I think you do. You don't care. But I kind of like just playing games fresh. You know, I don't really need to play demos.
Is Ghost Runner as hard as I've heard it is? That's
had
the
a
only
hard
thing
time
that
with it.
turned me off. It was,
Dude.
it was
The first one is pretty difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to change it a little bit, because I know it seems like there are some changes, at least from the trailers I've watched, but I would imagine the core mechanics of it being kind of a difficult game. It almost reminds me a lot of Super Hot in some ways. How you just kind of go over and over and over again until you get it just right, type of thing.
Yeah.
The second one looks cool though. The first one's
PC
awesome.
with mouse and keyboard. I did play it on PC with mouse and keyboard.
I could play it. That would run on my PC.
Dude, honestly, that might be the ticket there, because I feel like I played it on controller and I feel like it actually would play much better on mouse and keyboard.
You played it on controller?
Yeah.
Oh.
I bought it on my PS5, or yeah, I bought it on PS4 and then I got the PS5 upgrade.
Oh. Well, you have access to it on Steam, so
Let's go.
Mhm.
Big place.
Ghost Runner is not a cakewalk, but it loads quick, so you'll have fun. Yeah, I mean, so there was some of it I was doing for capture, and I just kept intentionally like trying to do weird things. So some of my times and levels are like way slower than they should have been. I was like, man, this is gonna look bad if anybody ever sees it, but I don't really care. But yeah, obviously you could do it on controller, but I don't know. Mouse and keyboard, I had a lot of fun with it for sure.
Yeah, that's key. Good point, Ed. Quick load times in hard games, very, very important. But yeah, that was a big game at PAX. The last one we went to. I didn't play it. I remember standing there watching you play it, Ben. But that was one of the ones we were more looking forward to. So it's
Dave,
good to see that got a sequel.
Yeah, absolutely. I realized that. Oh wait, sorry. Real quick on Ghost Runner. AR Not Skywalker says Ghost Runner got a bunch of accessibility options added post-launch to make it much easier, if I recall correctly. That's interesting. That's good, obviously, but so maybe that'll help you out, Dave, if you do have a hard time with it. But I think if you have PS Plus right now and maybe you redeemed it, you should have Ghost Runner on your PlayStation.
Ghost Runner on Switch.
Ghost Runner on Switch?
Rip,
Excuse me?
dude. Tell me you played with a Pro Controller. Tell me at least you played with the Pro Controller. Please, dude. Tell me you weren't mashing those Joy-Cons.
A wave bird.
Dave, what I was going to say is that behind you, you mentioned that screen was playing my VOD from the moment you moved in. It's because it's the same VOD. It's going at like 1 frame a minute right now.
So it wasn't before. It
okay.
was about halfway through that it just kind of like froze up, and I didn't want to distract myself or anybody else by trying to fidget with it. So it's the Ben is Handsome video on demand PowerPoint is what we're playing here. So just say next slide if you want to see the next frame.
Okay. Yeah. I don't really care. I've seen it before. So
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah, I lived it. I can't imagine playing Ghost Runner on Switch, but I did play Neon White on Switch because that's what they sent it for. So,
which is also insane. I could not imagine that. Playing on mouse and keyboard was such a fucking satisfying experience that I couldn't. Did you play on the Pro Controller?
No, so I played part of it on Pro Controller, but they sent it, and I didn't even know it was going to be on Switch. And so I was like, or on PC, and I was like, great, a game. I'm going on a trip tomorrow. And I was going somewhere with you and Dustin, I think.
Yeah.
And I was playing it, and I was like, wait, this has got to be somewhere else that's not on the Switch for sure.
I thought you guys were joking. It's actually on the Switch.
Ghost Runner? Yeah, I don't know how.
Ghost Runner on Switch, split Joy-Cons with motion control, stick drift any %. Out the box, man. Yeah, a game like that, especially with the stick drift problem, I'm like, how could you fucking even, Ben? How did you even survive? You know,
It might have been on the Pro controller, but I don't know. I don't know for sure. So you guys really aren't going to play any more Starfield, huh?
no. I don't think I'm ever going to play that game again.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to have the itch at some point in the future to play a game like that, and it will probably be that game. But honestly, after playing it and watching people play it, I want to play Fallout 76 more than I want to go back to Starfield right now. And that's not a slight on Starfield. I said it last week, and that wandering the wasteland, that sort of wandering an open world, that's what I want from a game like this. And I did not get it from Starfield, and I don't think it's really there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
Howard is dead.
I guess I was being super harsh. I might try it again. I don't know. It's also such a bad time because it's a game I don't love, and there's so many more interesting things for me to do right now. Maybe if it came out last year, I would be playing it. But yeah, it's just I don't know what it is, man. I can't get it. I don't get it. And I put like 10 hours into it. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think it's hard to judge this of ourselves? Brandon, before the game came out, you were telling me how you weren't excited for it because of all the stuff you were seeing online. Do you think it's possible that played in to your not enjoying it?
I mean, it's certainly possible
Like
that
if the online discourse didn't exist, would we all have enjoyed it more or less, for that matter?
I mean, obviously we can't be inside of a bubble. I 100% see what you're saying. And I think that it did overall negatively affect me. It was a net negative for the game and me. But at the end of the day, like sitting, playing the game, looking at the screen, I just kept wanting to pick up my phone and do something more interesting, which was apparently scrolling TikTok. And I'm like, well, why am I playing this then?
Well, TikTok, which Microsoft also bought, so they still win either
dude,
way.
exactly.
Or they were going to buy it, I guess.
Fucking Phil, dude. He's
everywhere. And then
bro.
one day you're gonna be like, Starfield is so boring. I don't want to play it anymore. And you're just gonna be like, I just want to play my Switch. And then Microsoft's gonna own that too, so you can't win.
Oh my god, bro.
And then Embracer's gonna buy you.
Ever saying, I want to play my Switch.
Dude, Microsoft's buying Embracer too. I saw that in the leak.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw that. And Tencent.
They're just going to own all the IPs soon.
And Sony, I think.
Never put any games out.
Yeah.
Because Xbox has no games. All right, boys. Well,
Gonna call it.
Yeah.
That was fun. Thanks everybody in chat. Hope we have some more next week, but that was cool to see people there.
Yeah, we didn't really push it. And obviously people who are audio only listeners didn't know about it. I probably should have stated, I think we're going to plan on doing this Tuesdays at 7, right? Does that sound right?
Yeah.
So that's the plan. But obviously this week was a little different. Dave, when is that baby girl of yours going to be here?
I don't know. Her due date is the 28th, so that would be a week tomorrow.
So we might be missing you next week for all we know.
No, she's not getting in the way of this.
Okay, good. Your wife's in labor, and you're like, "Hey, I'll be right back. I'll be back in an hour and a half."
Yeah.
Boys, we're live from Joseph Brant Hospital in Burlington, Ontario.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Good night.
Goodbye.